Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. We have made it to season 6. I'm so excited. And we added a new feature also. Now, not only do we have Life on Time, or sorry, look, Life on Time. There's my blooper of this one, lifeonrecord.com giving us a phone number. You now can also leave a message on our website. So, what I'm going to tell you before we get started is I want to hear those love stories. I want to hear what you would like to have on our show for Keep Hope Alive. I want to hear Christmas traditions, New Year's Eve, Valentine's, if you have an engagement story, if you have a single story or need anything to vent about, health related, let's hear about it. So we're here to help you, and I want to find the right guest speakers to bring on to our show. So it will be happy trails for everybody. Anyways, we have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Suzanne Doyle-Ingram, and she is amazing. I mean, you can see all the books right now behind her. She is author and co-writer, and she does public speaking. But before I get started on all that, I'm going to just ask you right away, Suzanne, how many weddings have you been to in the past 10 years?
Oh, how many weddings have I been to in the past 10 years? I think probably about 3 or 4. Not that many, actually.
Okay. Well, have you ever heard of Life on Record?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So Life on Record, they are taking away the, traditional guest book, the one you sign your name in when you go
Yeah.
into the ceremony. And sometimes they'll have it in the reception area. Just depends what you're doing. But in place of it, they put a vintage rotary phone. So your guests can pick up the phone and leave a 1 minute, 5 minute, 30-minute message for you. But right
Wow.
next to it, I know you're thinking 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to stand in line that long. They have a QR code right next to that phone. So if it is being used a long time, you can take your cell phone, scan the QR code, and then you can use your own cell phone to leave them a message. You can do it
Cool.
during or after. And they give this phone number for 1 year. So my suggestion is like get all those collected and then call a month before their 1 year anniversary and leave a whole new set.
Oh, that's
But
amazing. I love
that would
that.
be fun. I'm throwing this on to them right now. Life on Record, you got some work to do. But what happens once all those messages are collected, they burn it on a 12-inch vinyl record, or they'll put it on this cute little boom box. It's amazing. It's cute.
Oh,
And you get to hear everybody's voices congratulating you for the event. Now, I say it can be used for any event. I know we had in my son's football team, a kid broke his leg. So the kids called in and said, get well soon. And we have those recordings too. So no matter what the event, it's only $99 for the year to have that phone number. I want you guys to go visit www.lifeonrecord.com. So, Suzanne, I am so happy to have you. You're an author and you co-written 20 books, or is it even more than that by now?
I don't even know.
Are you going to be writing more?
Yes, I am. I am always writing another book, 2 or 3 books usually at a time. But it's funny because I don't even consider myself a writer. I mean, I'm an author, but I'm not one of these people who loves writing. But I sort of figured out what a book can do for you as a
Yeah.
business tool. So that's why I have so many books. But I also all these books behind me are my clients' books, and some of them are like multi-author books where 10 or 15 people each write one chapter, and then some of them are solo books, and I help them write their books, but I don't co-write all of the books.
Oh,
But
okay. We got that clear. But yeah, I know you also coach and teach others how to do.
yeah,
You have about over what 1,000 people or
yeah,
businesses you actually help. That's
yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
So, my goodness, look at you. And you're living in Mexico? What part of Mexico?
Well, I just got back from
Oh,
Mexico. I was
okay.
living there in Puerto Vallarta with my teenage son, and we wanted to kind of just experiment. I pulled him out of school. It's his last year of school. He's my last kid. The other two
Oh,
have blown the coop already. So we decided to go to Mexico, be warm. I'm right now, I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and it's raining and it's gray and I don't like the weather. So we decided to try and see if we liked it, and we loved it. And
Yeah.
so the next thing we're doing is we're going to South America, and we're going to continue visiting Spanish speaking countries so we can both get better at Spanish.
I live in Texas, and people think, oh, you should know Spanish. What? Because we're close to Mexico.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned from Dora the Explorer. I mean, you know, and working in restaurants and the hospitality, you pick up some of that stuff.
Mm.
So, I mean, I know poquito, but we're gonna get there.
Oh,
I
good.
can't do, I wish I could do a Spanish speaking podcast, but I just can't, not yet.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
it, that app, the Basil, or what is it called? I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. Babel is one of them, but there's one.
Babel. What did I
Yeah,
call it?
yeah.
Basil. Okay, new one. We can create
Basil.
that.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
But yeah, I wanted to kind of dive in because you do so much. I'm just going to ask you a few questions if you're up
Sure.
for it. Perfect.
Absolutely. Fire away.
So, why did you start writing books? And I should say book and helping with others. So, let's dive into that one. Why did you do it?
Okay, it's a long story, but I'll make it succinct if I can. So in 2008, I owned a marketing agency, nothing to do with books at all. And the economy kind of crashed. Anybody who's like over 40 is like, oh, I know what you mean. It was terrible. But it was really terrible. And so my business was really going downhill. And I was like, what am I going to do? I need to make money. I need to feed my kids. And I was freaking out. I know some of your listeners can relate to that, lying in bed wondering like, how am I going to pay the rent this month, and so I thought, well, maybe I'll write a book, because this was when Amazon was just starting to let people self-publish books. So I thought, okay, I'll write a book. And because I had a marketing background, I looked at what kind of topics were trending and what I thought was going to sell well. And so I decided to write a book on gluten-free breakfast recipes. And because I thought breakfast is usually like toast, granola, croissants, cereal, like it's almost all gluten. So I thought, okay, this could work. But I actually was so afraid that it was going to fail that I wrote it under a fake name. And it's just I can still relate to my clients to this day, 13 years later, when they're afraid. I'm like, I get it. I totally know what you mean. I'm totally afraid I'm afraid every day. I'm afraid every time I publish a new book. Like, is it going to work? Are people going to like it? But that first book became a bestseller. And then my first check from Amazon was $1,200. And I thought I had like won the lottery. I was like, this is so much money. This is so amazing. I was so happy. So that year I wrote 6 more books. And I was really exhausted because I could only write from 10 at night until midnight. And I had 3 little kids, and one of them didn't hardly sleep at all. And so I was so tired. But I had to do it. But what I realized was it's a lot of work trying to sell books. So when your book is high up on the bestseller list, it gets eyeballs on it. People can see it, and then it drops down, and then you don't have any sales. And so I felt like a gerbil on a wheel, just thinking like, how am I going to sell more books? Should I be blogging? Should I be tweeting? Should I create a new website? And it was just exhausting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
marketing aspect in this. Like, I'm a marketing director, but
Okay.
my fear is AI right now. AI is going to be taking over marketing positions by next year,
Oh,
probably.
maybe. But you know what? Someone just sent me his book, and he's kind of famous. He's a really amazing guy, and I was so honored that I was brought into the loop. And another trusted colleague said, "Hey, Suzanne, take a look at this book." And the fellow said, "I'm really proud of it. It was complete." And then so he didn't say it right away. So "I'm really proud of it." So I looked at it and I went, "Oh dear, this does not represent this person at all."
Oh,
And I said
wow.
to him, "Was this written by AI by any chance?" He goes,
Oh,
"Yeah, I'm so proud of it. It was totally written by AI." And I said, "Are you open to feedback?" Because what they really wanted to ask me was a technical question about the ISBN number. I said, "I know all you asked me was about the ISBN number, but can I like level with you and just like
yeah.
open the fire hose and tell you what I really think?" So
Yes. I'm
I
glad you
did.
did.
I'm not worried about AI at all, because the way I teach people how to write books is how to put their authentic self and their authentic story into the book. And AI can't do that for you.
I
It
know.
can help you with like ideas for the outline. For example, if I was writing a book today on how to write a book, I might ask ChatGPT, what do people who want to write a book worry about? You know, and then those little points I would I
Yeah.
could use that to like prompt myself. But I'm not worried about it.
I already had a long talk with my son. I go, I hope the teachers are aware that this is coming,
Yeah,
because don't sit here and talk to your phone and say, I need a essay on, 1940, blah, 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 whatever. I
yeah,
go, because that teacher should be able to tell the
yeah.
difference. You
You
need to
know,
put your
yeah, you can always tell. And AI does something really weird. You'll see something like "Welcome to Chapter 6." I'm like, no, authors don't write "Welcome to Chapter 6." So, anyways, he was very open to just close that loop. He was really sweet, very kind. He said, "I really appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much," and everything. And I was like,
Oh, wow. So
but you know,
definitely
everybody wants a shortcut nowadays. You know, it is a lot of work to write a book. You
it
can't write a
is.
book in a weekend. You can't write a good book in a weekend. And if you have a strategic plan for your book, it makes it a lot easier, which is what I do for people.
That's good, because the plan you can follow on course and be
Yes.
there and know what you're going to be doing that day, what your focus is. I'm one who would write it and be like, oh, I got all these other ideas when I stop, and I'll just have to jot it down and then go, do I revise it? Do I go back? Or do I go
Yes.
with my gut? So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right. So, my next question, how did you start helping other people write books? Like, what
Oh
was,
yeah, it kind of happened by accident because I used to drop my in that first year when I wrote those 7 books, I used to drop my daughter off at a community center to for her acting class or her theater, you know, little theater
okay.
class. And I would go to this little restaurant and I would always order a Caesar salad. It was the best Caesar salad in town. I should go back there one of these days, but it was sort of my little season that I was in, the Caesar salad season. And so I would
Yes.
have my Caesar salad and I would write and write and write. And someone asked me once, like, "Oh, what are you working on?" I said, "Oh, I'm writing another book." And they went, "Another book? What do you mean?" And I said, "Oh, it's just silly little books on Amazon." And they said, "Oh, well, I just went to the local library and the librarian told me it was not possible to put books on Amazon." And I like it when someone tells me I can't do something because then I want to go
You're gonna do it.
watch me, you know?
Yeah.
So so I said, you can, I have books on Amazon. You can totally put books on Amazon. And so then I started thinking, you know, maybe I should do a little local workshop if this librarian locally is giving out misinformation. So I
Yeah.
put a notice on Facebook and I said, I'm going to do a workshop for one day. It's $99. Who wants to come? And 20 people signed up. And I went, oh my gosh, I just made $2,000. Now, remember, I made $1,200 my first
Yeah.
check from Amazon, which were 1 month of book sales. So if I
Yeah.
could teach for one day and make $2,000, I was like, I think I'm on
Ah.
something. Yeah. So, and I love teaching. I love teaching. So there I was, and I rented my church basement for $25 and stood up there and taught them how to write a book and how to get it on Amazon. Now I wouldn't do that in one day again because it's so much information. Um,
Yeah.
but people loved it, and that's how it all started. And then I put it online, and I called it my expert author program, and I'm still teaching it 13 years later.
Yay.
Expertauthorprogram.com.
Well, hey, tell us about it, because, what is that website again? Because that was
Yeah.
all.
Well,
No.
there's a bunch of courses that I teach, but one of them is called the Expert Author Program. Yeah, and so that's the kind of like the signature program that I have. It's 6 months long, so I
Oh,
really help people start with, why are you writing a book? Who are you writing the book for? Let's create an outline that not only is for your book, but
yeah.
you can also use the same outline to help you with your social media posts and an online course or a workshop. And
Yeah.
the book is really the hub of this whole business you can build around it. And so I love working with people and keeping them on track. Like when you said sometimes you get other ideas. So what I recommend is that people say, thank you for that idea. Appreciate it. Write it down in my other ideas notebook, and then
Okay.
ask yourself, does this fit in with what I'm doing right now? Maybe this
Hmm.
goes in the next book, or maybe this is a blog post, or maybe it's going to be an article on LinkedIn. It doesn't all have to go into your book because you have to
Yeah.
stay on path. with your book, you know?
You
So
see,
you're not,
that's what I noticed about the podcast. So I'll do certain topics and talk to
yeah.
people, but I find myself going to TikTok with my other ideas and doing a
Yeah.
quick commercial. It's
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
okay, so that's my backup journal is TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's a good idea.
So, all right. So why do you think all business professionals need to write a book?
Well, I think that it really helps them with credibility and authority. And what I love about, if you write a book well and you write it correctly with the reader in mind. So if you don't write a book all about yourself, but you write a book that demonstrates, how you help people. So even if you're a realtor or a life coach or a dog trainer, or, you teach people how to do podcasts or whatever it is that you do
Yeah.
for a living, you can write a book in such a way that the reader feels like they belong. The reader feels like, oh, she's
Oh,
talking to me. Like, I'm in the right place. Like, I
good.
really appreciate this information that the author is giving me. And then what you can do is have really subtle things in the book, like, I have a free Facebook group if you want to join, or you could say,
Yeah.
like, book a strategy call with me if you want to dive deeper on this. But it can be a really amazing lead generation tool. And depending on what you do, like, one of my old clients was an architect. I wonder if her book is on here somewhere.
It's
I
like
can,
attract the
I think
email
it's
warrior.
this one up here. What does that one say? Like, it's backwards.
Dream inspired design.
I think that
No,
might be it.
is it?
Anyways, okay. So, anyways, she is an architect, and she said, she goes, when someone says, "I'd like to talk to you or interview you," my husband and I are thinking about building a new home. When she
Mhm.
goes to meetings, she gives them a copy of her book, and they 100% of the time they hire her, like 100% of the time. It just kind of clinches the deal for people. It's the
Yeah.
same with my real estate clients, life coaches, business coaches, executive coaches. It's great
Yeah.
to have a book. It's really, really good because
You,
people come to
yep.
you sort of pre-sold on who you are and what you stand for. And if they don't like you, they just go away. You don't need to worry about them. It sort of selects the right people to come closer to you.
Now, I am going to share a story with you. It's a different kind of book. It's the Holy Book, but I went to go get gas the other day and I, opened the thing, stuck the thing, and I'm just sitting there looking at the car. And then I turn my head and then I see like a book just kind of cracked out on the top. And I pulled it down and it said Bible. And I go, oh, somebody left their Bible there. And I pushed it back up and I went to the bathroom. I came back out and I go, huh, who would leave a book there and it be the Bible? Then I pulled it down and looked at it and it had two verses on there. And then I was like, let me open it. And there was a message for the person who found it. So, which
Oh
was
my gosh.
me. I found it. I took it with me. It sits right next to me. And as I go through everything in life, I'm holding on to that Bible. So,
Wow.
but
That
I
gives me
did,
shivers.
yes,
Wow.
I did a quick video and said, hi, I'm Nadine. I was in Little Elm at this gas station. I found a Bible and this is it. And it's on my TikTok video, but
Oh,
you know,
wow.
it's cool. Like if you took one of your books and just left it randomly and signed it by you,
Yeah,
I bet that would make somebody's day 100%.
absolutely. I had
So
a client that wrote, her name is Joni Higgs, and she wrote a book about how to learn to teach people how to meditate. And
yeah,
someone called me about 6 months ago and he said, "Are you the publisher of such and such book?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, I want to order 20 copies because I read the book. I bought it on Amazon. I read it and I actually learned how to meditate. And I want to spread 20 books around my town and
dang.
leave them like in doctors' offices and a gas
Yes.
station would be a good idea." So that's such a cool thing. That's so amazing.
Yes, definitely. But getting it out there, I'm learning from other people. That's what you do. Is the doctor's office seemed to go very well because
Wow. Yeah.
people are sitting there waiting for their appointment. You're either watching TV and it's the home and garden show or whatever, or designing your new house,
Yeah,
or you
exactly.
reading a book, or a magazine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but the books are, I think, 100% better. So, so I want to know, I mean, besides the workshops, do you ever sit one-on-one with people to write a book?
Yeah, but my clients are all over the world. So
Yeah, you have to
a lot of times
fly.
I don't meet them in person. We do them on Zoom. Like this morning, I had a call with somebody in the Netherlands, somebody in Asheville, North Carolina, and then British Columbia and Ontario. And so,
Wow.
and who else? Oh, and Florida. So all over the place. So it's more efficient to work with people online. And I do really feel like I get to know them like quite well.
Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah,
this is new technology, and
I know.
for podcasts, I get to talk
Yeah.
to people. We're still face to face, and you're
Yeah.
making that connection.
Yeah.
So, but you said something earlier, and I'm like, oh, I need a book. And that's what your title of the book is
Yeah.
like. Everyone has a book except you. And that is a good title because I'm thinking that's me. And I should have a book and I should start planning for a book because
Yes. Yes.
man, do I have stories to tell. But I
Yes.
definitely want my listeners to know I am the real thing, real deal, and I want to bring the voice of being heard to people. So, all right. And you always say it's not about the book sales.
Yes,
And
I
that's a good
agree.
motto. It isn't about,
It's not
yeah.
about the
So
books. Yeah.
explain that one to us too.
Well, I think it's just kind of old fashioned to think you're going to write a book and you're going to get it on Amazon. And then somehow, without any money or marketing
Yeah.
whatsoever, people are just going to stumble upon it and find it and you're going to sell a million books. And you
Yeah.
you don't like you can make $1 million with your book, but probably only 1,000 of that will come from book sales, and all the other money comes
Yeah.
from all the other things. You might put on an event or a retreat, or have an online course, an online program, or
Yeah.
do workshops, or do one-on-one. Maybe you have a $10,000 program. It's a lot easier than trying to sell books because it's a crowded marketplace. So what I suggest to people is, you know there's I actually have a program, workshop that I did called 37 ways to use your book as a marketing tool. And I try to get my clients to understand, like, what is your average customer value. So whatever it is that you do, whether you're a
Yeah.
chiropractor or a life coach, or you make tacos or whatever you do, right? What's your average customer value? And when you know that number, and you
Yeah.
realize, like, let's say a chiropractor's average lifetime value of a customer might be $3,000, right? Then why wouldn't you just want to use the book to get one new customer, instead of trying to sell $3,000 worth of books? Because it's going to take a long time and it's going
It
to cost you a
is.
lot of money.
Yeah.
One thing you
And
could do is give a copy of your book to all your past clients and current clients and say, Janice, I know you're really busy and you probably don't have a lot of time to read, but I wanted to give you a copy of my book. And if you can think of anyone who would
yeah.
benefit from my services, please pass my book along to them. Now you've got a little soldier that's walking all around town as your referral person,
Yes, definitely. I noticed one thing about me. I've increased my book reading, but it's due to Audible. So are
Oh
your
yeah.
stuff on Audible too? I'm like putting my hair
Yeah, well, some of it is, but I love to read. I mean, I just love holding the book in my hand. I don't listen to Audible books at all, but I know I'm rare. I know most people do. Most people listen to Audible
I
books.
just put in my AirPods. I find a good book. And
Yeah,
then I call it meditate. Yes, I fall asleep, but I keep thinking
yeah,
the words reading is gonna
yeah,
sink in my brain somehow. And I
yeah.
remember I did fall asleep and I caught myself saying, yeah, I already know
Yeah. Oh, it does
that.
sink in. Yeah, it does
So
sink in for
it
sure.
was like in the middle. Yeah, I already know that. What are you telling me? It's nothing new,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
but
for my type of clients, it's the book is the paperback book is really important because it's a
yeah,
tangible item that you're going to give to a client, right?
yeah,
It's a leave behind, which is a little bit more valuable than an Audible for that reason, because people can
yes,
just collect Audibles on their phone and you never remember if you're going to
yeah.
listen to it or not.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that statement because it says in my library, but I don't always remember to open that app.
Yeah. But
I
if you
mean,
see it on your bedside table, you might be like, oh yeah, that's Fred's book. I'm going to read that.
yes, like the book, like finding that Bible. Yeah, it's right
Mhm.
next to my side. And then
Yeah.
journaling. I talk about journaling a lot. So I have the journal by my side. But the
Mhm.
books that I love it the most, I do love holding them, especially when I was a kid. I was all about R.L. Stein books, you know?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would just like read it in my bedroom, go in the car, take a nice little trip by my one tree before, Texas got all grown up. I had a,
Yeah.
a little hiding place, but I would read and be like, oh, this is interesting. But just holding it felt so good too.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What are your biggest mistakes people make when they try to write a book on their own?
Oh, well, no one is born knowing how to write a book.
Yeah.
And so I always say, please get a coach if you can. I mean, there's
Yeah.
lots of different coaches out there, lots of good coaches. And so you might not want me, you might want someone who does a different sort of specialty. So I'm not trying to say, contact me, but I'm just saying what happens is if you have someone guiding you, you can, it's so much easier because then you have an outline and you know how to follow it. Whereas some people out there say, oh, just write whatever comes to mind, but that does not result in a good book. And it takes a really, really, really long time. And so some of the mistakes that people make, number one is they try to write a book without an outline. They try to do it by themselves. They don't think about the reader. They don't think about the reader at all. They just think about themselves and telling their stories, which is totally normal. And I'm not saying that with any judgment whatsoever because I've seen
Yeah.
it 1,000 times.
Gotcha.
Because you don't know that you really should keep the reader in mind. What am I sharing with the reader? How do I want my reader to feel? What do I want my reader to do? What do I want my reader to think? And when you put the reader first, it
Yeah.
ends up with a really good book where the person is just like loving you and they're eating out of your hand.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's really coming from a place of service, right?
Yep.
So although you still can put stories about yourself in your book, but let's say your book is something like well, there's a woman named Lisa Nichol that was in the movie in the book called The Secret, and I've met her a couple of times, and she's a beautiful, amazing woman. And she tells this story, and I used to tell the same story, but I like her twist on it better. So her
Uh-huh.
version of the story is about the letter V, and she says, you can talk about like where you are now, and then you say, but it wasn't always that way, and you go down to the bottom of the letter V, and then you say, here's what I did, and as you're going back up you lift as you climb and you're reaching down for other men and women that are struggling to say,
Yeah.
let me help you. Like, here's what we can do, here's what helped me. This might help you. And books like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I don't just help people write self-help books, but books like that are so helpful and wonderful. And so you're still telling your story. You're still saying this happened and this
Yeah.
happened, but then you can also be positive and say, try this. It really worked for me. Maybe someone has trouble sleeping. You could say, I listen to audiobooks and it helps me fall asleep. And someone else goes, thank you so much. It changed my life. I always say that there's someone out there right now praying for you and looking for you and needing your help, but they
Yeah.
can't find you and they'll find you if you have a book.
It's so funny when you're talking about sleep. Due to chronic pain, I have trouble sleeping. And it's been 4 or 5 years ago. They're like, we're going to put you on Ambien. That is a book in itself right now.
Yeah.
And I bet everybody who's been on it can contribute. So the book of
Yeah.
Ambien.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always thought, maybe I should do a health segment on that, but not get that medicine in trouble too much because it
Yeah.
does work for people. But people will have stories of the side effects. But when you look at, I did a Google search, I'm on this. How do I stop from walking around? It says to tuck in your sheets at the bottom of the bed tightly. It traps your feet.
Oh,
And I haven't had an issue since.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so,
Wow.
but like the more you investigate, don't
Mhm.
just be the person who's going to say, well, this is my experience and this is it.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me. But if you try this and this or look this up, this can help you make your decision on you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
always need a positive spin because it's not always all about you.
Yeah. And if you're just writing a story, like sometimes I have women that come to me that say, I married a narcissist
Uh,
and it was a really messy divorce and I want to write a book about it. And I say, I can't help you.
That's me. That's what I was teaching, how to get out of abusive relationships. That's what started the podcast
Well, that's
because
great because that's a different thing altogether, like how
yes.
to get out of it. But I don't publish books by people who are like, I have such a terrible story. Let's write one.
Yeah, no, there
Oh,
has to be hope found in it, you know.
ooh, yes.
So I do interview people who have been in abuse. It doesn't matter what kind of abuse, we all go through it, but we all
Yeah.
can learn from it too.
Yes,
And what
absolutely.
was the way out? What have
Yeah.
you learned? You know,
Yeah.
so, but that
Yeah.
is one of the biggest things. What are the three things someone should do before they write their book?
Okay.
Pray. Did you say pray too?
No, no, I said okay. Yeah. No,
Okay. I'm like, do
yeah.
we both say pray because I be praying?
Yes. Well, definitely a lot of my clients are people with a very strong faith. And I always say to
Yes.
them, before you sit down to write, ask God, help me here? Like, what should I put in the book today? So, but first, before you pray, first, think about number one. This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
What Well, no, number one is why. Why are you writing this book? Why are
Yeah.
you writing this book? And you have to be really honest with yourself. I'm writing it because I want to make my parents proud of me, or I'm writing it because I want my kids to know that I'm smart, or I'm writing it, whatever deep inner feelings you have, like make a list of
Yeah.
why you're writing this book. And then think about what do you want this book to do for you? So going back to what you just said earlier, if you were
Yeah.
going to write a book and you're going to interview a whole bunch of people who took Ambien and put it in a book, well, then what? Like, what do you want that book to do for you? Because I like for people to have something else that they can offer, whether it's their coaching program or their dog grooming practice or their architectural skills or chiropractor or whatever it is. So when you think about what you want the book to do for you, in
Yeah.
that case, the stories that you include will be positive and talk about how you've helped other clients and that kind of thing. Like I had a realtor once say, well, actually I've had this a few times where real estate agents say, I want to write a book about the complete idiots and morons that I've worked with over
Mm.
the years. And I go, well, then no one will ever want to work with you again if they
Yeah.
think you talk bad about them like that. No. And everybody, the realtors always think it'd be so funny to write a book about all the stupid people. And I'm like, oh my God, so terrible.
No.
No, you got to write a book about how you help people. So anyways,
It's like me driving in Texas and traffic and people don't know how to you don't do that.
yeah,
There
yeah,
has to be a positive spin on
yeah,
the road 380, you know?
yeah, exactly.
People being nice
So
to let you in. Sometimes.
exactly. I noticed that for sure. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
nice. They're nice. So number one is why are you writing your book? Number two would be what do you want your book to do for you? And then I think
Yep.
number three would be to really sit down and start thinking about your ideal reader and what that person is worried about, what
Yep.
you want to teach them, what you want to share with them, how you think you could help them. And these
Yeah.
are all like lists that you could work on and then write your outline.
I like that. That's really cool. I'm gonna get to work.
Good, good. Yeah,
It's
it'll
not
save
gonna
you
be
lots
about
of time and
Ambien.
it helps you just be really clear on what you want.
Yeah, definitely. So having that clarity too, and it helps your soul when you're putting it out on paper, that's
Yeah,
therapy,
yeah.
it's really good. So, also, let's see, what should people look for in a publisher?
I'm glad you asked me that. That was a good one. So there's lots of ways you could publish a book nowadays. So if you imagine like a horizontal line with traditional publishing over here and
Yep.
self-publishing over here, and then there's like options in the middle all along the way. So a traditional publisher is like one of the big five, like HarperCollins and Penguin. Lots of people want a traditional publisher because of the credibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to get the interest of a traditional publisher unless you have a huge social media following. So if you have a
Yeah.
million followers or more, you'll have a way better chance. Sometimes people say to me, I'm like, I am big on LinkedIn. I have 300 followers. I'm like, honey, that's not big. So traditional publishers, I'm not a huge fan because you also don't make very much money when you sell books.
Yeah.
It takes a really, really long time, and you don't really own the rights to your book or have any control over anything, right?
Oh,
So then
wow.
on the
Yeah.
other end of the spectrum, self-publishing, I'm a big fan of self-publishing, but a lot of people, they don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. And so they end up making a lot of mistakes and literally crying and pulling their hairs out, because I have people phoning me all the time going,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
do it on my own and I can't do it. And now Amazon locked up my account. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you should have called me first. So
Oh,
I help people get their books on Amazon affordably. Um, and so what we do for them is the cover design and the
yeah.
interior typesetting, and then show them, here's the button you press, here's how you do it, and it keeps the cost down. I mean, there are companies that do what I do that literally charge up to $85,000 for
What?
what I do. Yeah, I met a poor man the other day. Well, he's poor now that he paid the bill, but anyways, he put this lovely man. I should say, when I say the other day, I mean like 6 months ago. But anyways, he
Yeah.
was referred to me because he signed a contract saying that he would pay $85,000 to this company. I
Yeah.
won't mention their name, and he paid a $14,000 deposit.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, it just makes my heart pound. And then they went out of business. And I hear about that all the time.
Oh my goodness.
So poor guy, he's just like, I'm fed up. I can't trust anybody. I don't want to do this. And so now I don't think he's going to publish his book. But um, self-publishing is really, really great because you have control over your book. You can change the pricing anytime you want. You don't have to get permission from some big daddy publisher who may go out of business. You can log into your own account. You can see how many books you've sold. Like what the way we do it is we let our authors keep 100% rights to their book and all their royalties. So when they sell
Good.
books on Amazon sends them the check once a month. It doesn't
Yeah.
go through my company. So I kind of wanted to create like a happy medium because I think when people are left to their own devices, it's really, really complicated to self-publish your book in a professional way and look good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I've seen people that just don't know what they're doing, and it's not their fault, but they just forgot to put page numbers in their book. That's a big omission, right? Or
Yeah.
there's no table of contents, or it's just really weird looking. It doesn't, like, you can be unique, it's okay, but you can't make your book so weird that you turn away the readers, and the readers like, oh, this doesn't feel right to me, like I think I'm in the wrong place. You want them to
Yeah.
feel like they're in the right place and you're getting it. Like when you think about the customer journey, I call it the reader journey. We're bringing someone on a journey through your book, and they
Yeah.
are giving you like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 hours of their time. So you better make
Yeah.
it good. People often are egocentric when it comes to their book, and they go, it's almost like doing you such a favor. Like this happens to me. And maybe I shouldn't say this publicly. It's going to be recorded. But anyways, I'm going to let you have a copy of my book. And I'm like, I read 150 books a year. And every now and then I squeak in like a Michael Crichton or something that I really, really love, like fiction that I love to
Yeah.
read. But it has to be good. And to take that's me taking time away from
Yeah.
my spouse, from my children, from my hobbies, and so
Yes.
you got to make it good. But I don't mean award winning, like lyrical, getting out your thesaurus. And I mean, what's in it for the reader? Is the
Yeah.
reader going to benefit from your content? It doesn't have to be like you've just got your PhD in creative writing. It doesn't have to be like that. You can just be you, and you can just be normal. But I think it's really important that people are aware of the responsibility that comes with publishing.
Yeah, definitely. I know I'd be throwing my humor in there. I want
Yes,
people to laugh and
exactly.
understand
Yep.
life and
Yep.
the
Mhm.
challenges life throws us. So it's like, yeah, definitely. So do you think authors should have ebooks as well as paperback books?
Yes, I do. But let me clarify. I
Okay.
think they should have a Kindle book,
A Kindle. Okay.
Kindle, and a paperback for sure.
And
They have both. They have to have both, because I mentioned earlier with the paperback and the thud factor, right? Like what we call that when you put it on somebody's desk.
yeah,
Thud factor.
yeah,
And then sometimes people just want to read it right away, so they don't want to wait for shipping. I buy lots of Kindle books because I'm like, oh, I hear somebody on a podcast like, oh, I want to buy that book, and then I just grab it right away because I don't want to wait for the shipping.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as many books, I want paperback books, and I just found out I'm going to be a grandma. So
Oh my
I,
gosh,
I was like,
congratulations.
thank
That's so
you.
exciting. Oh my
I
gosh.
have a
Oh,
children's book that I want to buy from yesterday's.
oh,
So,
oh.
but I want to be able, when the baby is born, the
Yeah,
baby's not going to know, hey, you gave
yeah,
me a book about a caterpillar and life story. They're not going to understand that yet. But I want the baby and I want to write in it, this is your first book. And then
yeah.
when,
Oh,
it gets older, oh, you can see grandma on the podcast,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so
Yes.
true. And kids keep children's books for a long, long time.
Oh,
When my
yes.
17-year-old and I just went to Mexico, we had to clean out our house because I rented out my house, and he had some like literally children's books, and he's like, "Let's keep that one, keep that one, keep that one. We can give this one away,"
Yeah.
And so we just kept them.
Well, I guess my grandfather, he gave me this really old one. It was like velvet red and just the way it was
Wow.
hardback, but it was nursery rhymes.
Oh,
And I was being selfish. I didn't want to get rid of it because it was grandpa giving it to me for me and
yeah,
my kids. But
yeah.
my kids are old and my brother just had kids. So
Oh,
I'm like, here,
oh
if you
yeah.
don't
Keep it
want
in the
them, you give them
family
back
though.
to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can keep it in the family, so that's good.
Yeah, so definitely it was like an heirloom that needs to be passed on and passed
Yeah,
on and
yeah.
definitely go from there.
And that's what I
Um
like about paperback books when you said, like a lot of people want to just do a PDF and say, oh, I wrote a book and send out the PDF, but I
no.
do not recommend that at all. You
No,
gotta
I
have
wouldn't
books.
even say, yeah, a PDF, you're not likely gonna read it. Like,
Yeah.
I like it because if it's a podcast, person coming through, I have a media kit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
great, it's like Christmas for me.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
open it, save it right away. I'm not cutting and pasting and redoing stuff. So those are the fun times I see for PDF. But I want to know, how can people use their book as a marketing tool? Because you're in marketing too. I think, having that book and being able to also, maybe you have a marketer, but that's a publisher, and maybe it's outsourced a certain way, but what can you do to push it?
Well, I always say to people, it's a good idea to mention your book, but not to say, buy my book.
Yeah.
It's different, right? So think about when you're setting up your social media calendar, maybe you do 5 posts a week, right? Maybe one of them mentions the book and the other ones are all the other things you do, right? Like one of them
Yeah.
is a inspirational post or whatever, right? So one thing you can do is you can pull little quotes out of your book and make little nice little like Instagram pull
Yeah.
quotes with a picture of the cover of your book, right? So that's really good for authority and credibility.
Yeah.
And so that is essentially, it is using your book as a marketing tool because you're pulling them all out of your book, right? You can
That's cool.
also you give away your book as a door prize at networking events that you go to.
Yeah.
You can, like I mentioned earlier, give them to some of your previous clients and use it as a referral tool. You can use your book as part of a workshop that you teach based on the material in the book, and then everybody that signs up for the workshop gets a copy of the book too. Oh,
Nice.
there's so many things you can do. Like I said, with a lot people, clients like financial advisors, realtors, architects, people who go to meet with a client, like a potential client, give them a copy of your book, but do it at the very end as an afterthought. Don't
Yeah.
act all weird about it. Like, okay, I'm going to give this a value of 1995, like some performer,
I do that.
just give it to them and say, like, I know you're super busy. You probably don't have a lot of time to read. And here's a copy of my book in case you are
Yeah.
interested. And I'll leave it
Yeah.
times.
Don't do it before you start the meeting. Oh, here's my book and you need to read this.
Yeah,
Could you
yeah,
imagine? Be like,
exactly. Oh my
no,
gosh.
you
Well,
got,
actually, I did hear about someone that was doing that. Like, they're like,
oh my gosh,
you
just
gotta
to get
you have to
business.
read my book before I'll have a meeting with you. And then they go, oh, I noticed that you booked a meeting on my calendar. Have you read my book? I always tell my clients, never ask somebody, have you read my
Yeah.
book? Because with the law of reciprocity, you've already given them the gift of the book. And then they feel so embarrassed if they haven't read it. And
Yeah.
we're not here to make people feel bad, So
Yeah.
if they've read
Definitely.
it, they'll tell you. They'll be like, oh
Yeah.
my
They'll tell
goodness,
you.
more. Yeah.
I don't ask people like, hey, how many episodes did you watch?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
do you know what you're walking it into? You know,
Yeah.
we all get busy in life. And, bios are bios. I do a lot of studying during the day on the person I'm interviewing, but
Mhm.
like if they're sending it weeks and I'm taking it and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Okay, I'm going to study this person and, make sure they're a good fit. Yeah, I know. You're great.
What are you going to find out about me?
That you have a lot of books behind you. You know what? As a photographer, um, the book covers, I'm like, ooh, designing and creating. The one that catches my eye do you know which one catches my eye?
Is it oh, doesn't show. Is it Run
Nope,
Towards the Roar? Okay. Is it uh Built to Scale?
nope.
Okay, tell me, which one is it?
It reminds me of The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh. Oh, do you mean this one? This
The
one. Yeah.
high heel.
Simple
Yes.
Success Strategies for Women Entrepreneurs. That was designed by a woman named Azadeh Yaragi. She's not my regular designer. I have an in-house designer, but she's one of the co-authors of this book, and she's a branding specialist. She's amazing. And
I
now
mean,
actually she's writing a book in my program, which is so cool. But I love that cover too.
it's simple.
Yeah.
It says, I mean business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can't, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the title really well because my eyes are getting bad, but
That's
the
okay.
shoe, it was just the high heel.
Yeah,
I was just
it's
like,
awesome.
dude, out of all these covers, why am I drawn to that one? So,
Yeah.
when you're
Totally see.
writing a book too, and you have your illustrator, it's like, what will capture the eye? Also,
Yeah.
so
Exactly. Good. That's great that you brought that up because cover design is so important. And I see some really bad
yeah,
covers. I love my designers so, so, so much. And what
yeah,
happens when we work with someone is generally we give them 3 mock-ups to start with, and they don't have to like any of them. They might say, you know what, I think I want a shoe or a candy apple or a picture of myself or, whatever it is, right?
yeah,
So it takes some time. We tweak and we tweak and we tweak. If you're just going to some random online website where they will sell you a cover design, you don't get to work with someone like that. So
yeah, yeah,
actually, I had someone come to me a few months ago, and they said we already have a cover design, and so can we reduce the price a little bit? And I'm like, you know what? It's going to sound really strange, but actually, I charge more if you use a different cover designer because it happened today. It never works out. Like I just was like, I don't mean to be rude, but we'll see if it works out. But I'm telling you right
yeah,
now, 100% of the time, they don't know how to do the dimensions right, and it doesn't get approved by Amazon. And sure enough, today it didn't get approved by Amazon, and they're all running around. I was like, you should have used my designer. Because a
yeah,
cover designer, it cannot be the guy who does your website. It cannot be the
yeah,
next door neighbor's son who did your business card. It has to be a book cover designer, not only because of how it's catchy and everything, but literally the dimensions and the specifications are so important. And usually it's at the last minute, right before your launch. We're uploading it to Amazon. And if you use our designer, it will be approved 100% of the time.
yeah.
But if you don't, it's just a nightmare. And the friend of mine who really wanted to learn how to do it on her own, I was guiding her through it. She literally was crying on the phone. She's like, well, I went to Fiverr and I paid somebody $5. And I'm like, well, that's what you get when you pay $5 for a cover. Sorry, but it costs
Yeah,
money, you
it
know?
does. Yeah. I mean, I give kudos to Netflix. I really don't understand why I chose this one series, and I'm not scared because I love the show, but it's called Jane the Virgin.
Oh,
And,
okay. Okay. Yeah.
and she's an author and she
Oh,
writes books, but
yeah.
you get to see what it's like to be an author of
Oh,
a book.
cool. Oh,
And
cool.
it's talking about the illustration,
I'm gonna
and
write that down.
she ended up having her guy draw the picture because it was
Oh,
too
cool.
overwhelming and it got approved and just everything. So,
That's so
I mean,
cool.
there's a lot of work into this,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, how can people find you online? What is all your social
Oh my
media
gosh.
and everything?
Well, hopefully they can see my name down here. So I am the only Suzanne Doyle-Ingram online. And if you
Okay.
type in my name to Google, there's many results. I'm the real deal.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook, Suzanne
Okay.
Doyle-Ingram, on LinkedIn, Suzanne Doyle-Ingram, and my website is prominencepublishing.com.
Okay.
And I actually have a gift if it's okay.
Yes, it is.
I have like a free training if anybody wants to look at, a little webinar. I think it's about 45 minutes long on how to write a book. So it's at prominencepublishing.com/free. So they can go
Nice.
and
Okay. And we'll add that to the Facebook posting and get everything rocking and rolling
thank
in there.
you. That's awesome.
I want to say thank you so much. I had so much talking to you, and I know our viewers, I know they enjoyed you. You have this great energy about you, and you can tell you're passionate about your work and everything. And
Thank you. I am. I love it.
I know it's awesome. I also really quickly want to thank our sponsors for being with Keep Hope Alive. As we mentioned, Life on Record, your interactive guest book. You can find them on lifeonrecord.com. We also have bridalshowsinc.com. So if you're planning a special event in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can go to their website. I believe they have 4 or 5 throughout the year where you can go meet with the vendors, learn what they do, and possibly get their prices and everything. And then we have Party Time Texas, your one-stop shop for all your party planning needs. If you need a DJ, a band, a caterer, a venue, a clown, a bouncy house, whatever it is, a casino, they can do it. So check them out as well. And then we have Miles and Smiles, DeborahRose.com. She is a handwriting analyst, and she also does lipstick readings. And her background, she's an investigator too. So you can't get anything past her. She's accurate, down to the point, and she makes every event fun. Now, our next sponsor, he's traveling all through the United States right now. Bryce Harney, the magician and mentalist. You can find him at www.brycemagic.com. Last but not least, Mr. Richmond Punch. Basically from the Dallas area, he just moved to Georgia. He graduated from the Juilliard and is probably one of the best violinists I've ever heard. So he's performed in front of millions of people and been on a couple of Lifetime shows. So Richmond is up to travel and go where you need them. And a lot of our sponsors, they already have podcast shows here, so you can learn more about them as well. Make sure you leave us a message. And then also remember, you can call us at 833-780-HOPE. If you have any questions or just want to leave a 30-minute message, you can do that as well. So other than that, I want to thank everybody for joining today on Keep Hope Alive. I want to thank you so much for coming and speaking to everybody. Until next time, love and light. Bye-bye.